Norman here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
NFL Week 2. What a wild ride Week 1 was. I always say Week 1 can be crazy and unpredictable, which it usually is at times. However, this was a little different level of craziness and unpredictability. A ton of upsets highlighted by Seattle over Dallas. We had Indy-Houston tie. We had Chicago over San Fran, Steelers over Bengals, and then Giants over the Titans. I always try not to overreact after Week 1. I don't really look at teams if they do lose that game thinking, they're going to have a bad season. Some teams start slow out of the gate. You got to remember, one less preseason game. Okay, and a lot of starters didn't play. I know personally from the Ravens, not like one starter didn't play. Didn't affect them, but you got to understand teams are going to start slow. I don't really start looking at a team until maybe Week 4, how good I think they're going to be to start the year, or this year specifically. And then really you can really judge a team after, I think, Week 4 or 5, around that range. You're going to start knowing, who's the weapons, what are some plays they like, how is the defense going to be, how is the offense going to be. So I do think it does take some time. For teams to get going. And we definitely got hit by a few upsets here. The Houston-Indy, I did have Indy in a couple money line parlays, so it did push. But we had Indy in Survivor, and definitely upset there. Bengals and Denver also caught me. I did have them. I had Denver in a money line parlay, also in Survivor, and then Bengals as well. I was on the Bengals. Tough. I'll quickly go over those bad beats for you guys. But, good start to Week 2. I had a client play on the under 27.5 first half between the Chiefs and Chargers. Both teams' defenses had improved. And back-to-back years, both those games, last year, 20 points, 17 points in the first half. Seems they start slow, but just the defense improving. Chargers' defense improved. Game actually went under as well, full game. Let's quickly go over it. So Indy tied, so we did push there. However, the Survivor play, which I mentioned, quick comments on that game. Yards were 500 plus to 215 for the Colts. And Ryan threw for over 300 yards, and Taylor ran for 160 plus. Now, if I didn't look at the score and just saw those stats, I would think the Colts blew them out. But they didn't. They didn't. It ended up at a tie, which was crazy. They had to come back, too. They had to come back, force OT, and then they missed a 42-yard field goal in overtime to make, and then the game ended up in a tie. You can say bad beat there. So that's bad beat 1. Bad beat 1 was on the Colts. Bad beat 2, Bengals. I don't know what's worse, the Bengals beat or the Denver beat. I would say probably Bengals. Bengals started slow, especially Burrow. However, he played better in the second half. Burrow, 2 turnovers. He didn't look good in the first half at all. Basically, the Bengals gave this game away. I don't think the Steelers beat them. I think the Bengals just gave it away. They won the game. Well, they tied the game at the end with a Chase touchdown. I think a few seconds left on the clock, or I think 0 seconds left on the clock. And then their extra point got blocked. They would have won the game there. Game went to overtime. They moved down the field fairly easily. Boom. 29-yarder missed. Now, their long snapper got hurt in this game. So that was an issue as well. A lot of bad luck if you're on the Bengals side there. And then Steelers end up winning in overtime with a longer field goal. Bad beat 3, Denver. 2 fumbles at the 1-yard line, back-to-back plays in the second half. You don't see that too often, right? Then there was a tight end. Then they had the ball at 10-yard line, I think. Tight end caught the ball in the end zone, but is tippy toe was out of bounds. There's another another tough play there. And then decision, I think stupid decision by the coach, first-year coach. 30 seconds left in the game, 4th and 5. He decides to try to kick a 64-yard field goal. We're not in Denver. Maybe he kicks it in Denver. I know McManus has a big leg, but come on. You go for it on 4th and 5. Give it to Russell Wilson at his old stadium to try to, get the 4th and 5. But he decides to kick some crazy kick. He missed it twice. Right? Seattle called a timeout, and then he missed it again. So it's a very tough kick, 64 yards. He's never hit that. I think he hits it in practice, but probably in Denver with that air, right? I get it maybe if the call was in Denver, but in Seattle, definitely not a spot. So there's some of the bad beats. I'll be going over bad beats each time I have one. Hopefully we don't have too many of them, but it just happened to all come in week 1. We did have some nice winners though, right? Let's talk about some nice winners here. Really attacked Joe Flacco. We really attacked Joe Flacco in that game. I played the under 17.5 Jets team total, the under 44.5 game total, and the Ravens minus 6.5. So that was nice. That was nice there for myself and clients. And we also attacked KC in a money line parlay, and also KC minus 6. So we were on KC on the spread, which was nice. I know some people probably stayed away from that, but I liked it due to the Arizona being banged up and very thin at corner. Mahomes picked them apart, and it was an easy win there. So quick recap before I go over week 2. Moneyline parlays and teasers were the downfall this week, right? Did not hit any of them. 2-0 on totals, though. We make it 3-0 now on totals due to the KC win, so good start there. And 2-2 on spreads to start the year. It's early, guys. Week 1 is always tough to handicap, for myself at least. Hoping for a good week 2, and then, like I said, last year, the last 9 weeks, we went on a 68% run to end the year, last 9 weeks. So I really get a lot of information and data after the first few weeks, so we'll be getting going here. Like this video, guys. Like the video. It helps me out a ton. Subscribe as well, and comment. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. If you haven't already, watched the UFC Vegas 60 video. UFC Vegas 60 video is out now. Go check that out on my YouTube channel. I'll be looking at 3 games like usual, guys. 3 games like usual. The Monday nighter, like I always do. There's 2 Monday nighters, but I decided to look at the Vikings at Eagles. Should be a good game there. And then Miami at Baltimore. That's going to be a fun game as well. And then Arizona at Vegas. Let's get right into it. Miami at Baltimore. Baltimore minus 3.5 total, 44.5. A battle between 2 teams that are 1-0, right? 2 teams started off good, winning their games fairly easily, mainly due to their defense and big splash plays. Baltimore's defense shut down Joe Flacco like I expected. Flacco wasn't able to do much, even though he did throw some for a garbage time TD and some yards, but he had to, right? They were down pretty much the whole game. Baltimore only allowed them to score 9 points. The one TD was in garbage time. Did they even get a TD, or was it all field goals? If it was 9 points, I think they maybe missed a field goal. Either way, 9 points. Flacco, like I mentioned, he threw for over 300 yards, 307, and then like I mentioned, a lot of those were in garbage time. Jets just couldn't really get the run game going. That was the main issue. The Ravens are always a top 5 against the run at the end of the year. The D-line looked really good. Baltimore's D-line looked really good. Really strong game. I'm impressed with what I saw there, and it's usually good, guys. It's usually good. Last year, the issue was the secondary, but this year, they went out and made some splash signings. They're going to get Peters back, hopefully, for this game. But Marcus Williams was a huge upgrade there. They obviously drafted Kyle Hamilton, first overall in the first round, 14th, 15th overall. So it's improved. And then a Humphrey with another year. So that's going to be an improvement for the Ravens, and I do think they're going to be, a total defense top 5, top 7 overall, maybe even better. You never No. Ravens on offense, they relied on big splash plays. They weren't great on offense. They really struggled to run the ball. But they had some big plays, and it was done by Lamar. Lamar threw the ball in this game to win. Big splash play to Bateman for, I think, a 60-yard TD. He also had a big touchdown to Duvernay. I think it was about a 30-yard touchdown pass to Duvernay. So Lamar showed that, he can throw the ball. He doesn't just have to run to win games. Miami held the Pats to just 7 points. Miami, I think they want to focus on defense. They want to be a defensive team first. They can put up points. They did obviously go out and get Tyreek Hill, made some splashes, got Edmonds as well, and obviously they have Waddle. So they have Hill and Waddle as a pairing, and that's a dangerous pairing, right? You can put that top 5 in the league as wide receiver duels. Tua, it's going to be the question, right? Tua's going to be the question. He played okay. He played fine in that game. It's going to be the question is how he plays all year long, right? How he plays all year long. I think the D-line up front is going to be tough with Baltimore's D-line. We're going to see how he handles that and that secondary when obviously this secondary is going to be a bigger test than last week. So we're going to see how Tua handles that. Miami struggled to run the ball. They struggled to run the ball. It's not going to get much easier this week, guys. Not going to get much easier this week. 25 yards from Edmonds and only on 12 attempts and 5 attempts from Mostert, and he only had 16 yards, guys. 16 yards. Dolphins don't have that RB1. That's my concern with them. They don't have that, if the pass game's being shut down, the secondary is able to shut down the Miami guys, and, Tua is struggling. Can they rely on a running back? That's going to be the question with Miami this season, right? So they could struggle there. That's where I think their defense will play, and I do think their defense will be a top 10 unit this year, definitely. So I can see this game, struggling to get points. I can see the offenses maybe struggling to put up big numbers here. I can see it definitely going under this total. And from a line standpoint, -3.5. It's a tough call. I would have to lean Miami with the points at +3.5. But, I wouldn't be surprised if Ravens get this game at home in a close one. Definitely wouldn't be surprised. I'll be leaving a side away. I won't be betting a side in this game. But if I had to, I'd definitely lean with Miami at +3.5. And I don't see too many points in this game. I see both defensive units being strong this year. And like I mentioned, offensively, they weren't great week 1. But again, it's week 1. But if they struggle to run the ball in this one, I expect this total to go under. What do we have next here, guys? Arizona at Vegas, -5.5 for Vegas, total 51.5. Shootout possibly. I definitely wouldn't bet against it. Definitely wouldn't take the under in this one. Two teams that could score. However, one team in Arizona who's, the issue is with Arizona. They did put up 22. It was more in garbage time, though, right? And it does scare me a bit with Hopkins, right? Hopkins not being in that lineup showed. It showed last week. Also, Moore's doubtful for this one. He is a depth wide receiver and does get targets. Not only on offensive side of the ball, Arizona also is hurt and thin in the secondary. And Mahomes exposed it last week by putting up 44 points, allowing most passing yards in week 1. Arizona. I do think Arizona's going to take a step back here. It did show in week 1. Again, it is week 1. It's not going to get much easier against the Raiders, who have an offense that can put up big yards and points as well. The Adams experience went well last week with 10 catches for 141 yards. Waller and Renfrew dangerous as well. They allowed their defense always going to be the issue, right? The defense. I'm not worried about the offense on Oakland. On Vegas. They're going to be able to put up points. It's going to be the defense. They allowed 3 touchdown passes to Herbert last week. That's not going to get it done. And, Carr had a timely interception. Samuel picked off him. He did have a deep throw. And then Waller did have a a drop TD pass. They weren't out of that game. They weren't out of the game. They lost by 5. They had a chance to win that game, Vegas, last week against a very good Chargers team. This week, I think it does set up well with them. I think it sets up well for Vegas to get their first win. They're at home. Obviously, the energy and crowd is going to be crazy in that building. Don't love the 5.5. I like Vegas more maybe in a money line parlay, or you can look in the teaser option. But if I had to choose, Vegas defense, not great. Arizona's defense, not great, but both teams can score. So over 51.5 would be my look here if I were to bet a total. It hasn't made my client card as of yet. However, it may. It's just week 2. I don't love betting, high spreads or high totals, etc. But if I did bet it, I would have to look at the over, and I do like Vegas to get the job done at home. Monday nighter Vikings at Eagles. Eagles -2 total, 50.5. Vikings look impressive. They looked impressive in game 1, holding Packers to just 7 points and Rodgers to only 195 yards. That's great. Also solid against the run, allowing both Dillon and Jones 49 and 45 yards combined. I expect Rodgers to take a step back this year without Adams. And it showed in week 1. The wide receiver core is not deep. One guy gets hurt or something, they're in big trouble over there. So, again, it's Rodgers. He like Brady in previous Pats years, he didn't have a ton of guys to throw to, but he always found a way. Cousins, who isn't a guy I like to back, had a solid day, though. 2 TDs, 277. When you have arguably one of the best wide receivers in the game, that helps, right? Huge game from Jefferson, putting up 9 catches for 184 and 2 TDs. That's how you start the year, right? You start the year when Jefferson's starting the year like that. I do think he's going to have the most yards in this league. Him and Adams, I think, will be battling back and forth, but I think Jefferson gets the crown there for most receiving yards, and wouldn't be surprised his touchdowns as well. Cook was solid, 90 yards, but it did take him on 20 attempts to get there. The Eagles, on the other hand, looked great on offense, but terrible on defense, and terrible against the run. Terrible against the run. I think it was 144 Swift ran on him in 15 attempts. So, I expect Cook to be heavily targeted in this game. I expect Cook to be heavily, gave the ball maybe 25 attempts. I wouldn't be surprised here. That defense against the run looked terrible. Eagles, though, they run the ball well. 96 yards from Sanders and 90 from Hurts. I think they led the league in rushing last year, and I can see it again if Hurts are going to continue to put up these big numbers. Hurts, not bad in the passing game, but not great either. 240 passing yards, and this is what the issue. 18 for 32 isn't great from Hurts. He's not an accurate QB, which I found last year. He did have a big game though with Brown. 155 yards, 10 receptions. He's earning that big money. He's a true number 1 wide receiver, and that's what they needed there in Philly. The defense is going to be the issue for the Eagles all year. You allow 35 points to the Detroit Lions. It's not good, guys. Definitely not good. But they're going to be able to put up points all year. I can definitely see points in this one. I can definitely bet that over 50.5. Total here. Both teams I don't think are good defensively, even though Vikings looked improved. They definitely looked improved there, but I think Hurts with that movement and run, definitely a different look from Rodgers, so it could give him a fit. So I would lean the total over 50.5, and I would look at the Vikings as an underdog here at plus money, at plus 120. I think there is some value there, but I definitely can see points in this one. Some favorite money line plays and teaser options for you guys this week. I have to look at the Raiders, like I mentioned earlier, as a money line play or teaser. You get it teased down just plus money, plus 2 or whatever you're going to play it at. Cleveland at home versus Joe Flacco. It's just more of a bet against Joe Flacco. I'm not high on the Browns, but I think that defense is solid, and they should give Joe Flacco fits, especially on the road in Cleveland. Rams would be my favorite bounce back. Tease that down, get it at just a field goal. Money line's obviously expensive, but if you're doing 3-team money line, you can have the Rams in there. I do expect them to win at home. Underdog play of the week. Underdog play of the week. Nothing I liked last week. It's week 1. It was tough. Tons of underdogs that came through though. So I wish I bet some underdogs last week. This week I like a few. I'm going to give you a few like I usually do. This week I'm going to look at the Vikings. Vikings, I mentioned it already. They look great start. And I'm a little concerned about that Eagles defense. And I think Cook can have a big game here. So I would look at the Vikings plus 120 on the road. And then a couple others here. Saints at home, guys. They play Brady well. Now, couple question marks. I think Evans is questionable. So obviously if he doesn't play, that's a huge upgrade for the Saints pick. But Kamara is also questionable. So wait for this one. Wait for Saturday. I think if Kamara is up, I think Saints is a good play. Remember, Saints play Brady well. Remember, they won 9-0 last year. Now, Saints defense is a little watered down in my opinion. So that's the only thing I'd be worried about here. But I think there's some value at home with the Saints. But just look at that Kamara status. And there's definitely some value there. And the Panthers against the Giants. Don't overreact too much with that Giants win. I don't think they're that good of a team. So I do think Carolina, if they can limit, obviously, the run game, then I do think they have a chance here, Carolina, to win this game on the road. That will do it, guys. That will do it for week 2 video. Give it a thumbs up. If you want my betting card for this week, obviously go over to the website and subscribe today. Like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits. Enjoy week 2.